Oh, it's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. Alexa, we have a fun weekend of racing coming up at Keeneland, and we're going to get to see the horse of the year running with Torpedo Anna over at Oaklawn Park. Just another big weekend of action. How's everything going on your end?
I mean, it's going great. It's April in Lexington, Kentucky, which is the season for Keeneland. We run twice a year, just a short month meet in April and October, and the whole city comes alive for Keeneland. There's tons of out-of-towners. The track's sold out every day. Everybody's dressing to the nines at the racetrack. I mean, it's just such a fun time. So I'm great. And I love Torpedo Anna, who we're going to talk about. So very exciting weekend.
So for all of you out there, if you want to follow along and play some of the races this weekend, we have a great offer for you with the unlimited cards. They're all you can play past performances for $10. Let's say on Saturday, you can click on any track that you want, look at any of their past data. That's what past performances are, the prior races that horses have run. So this is like that big newspaper looking thing that you have when you're out at the racetrack, Alexa. It's cool. So for $10, you can check out all these different tracks. You can play multiple tracks, and maybe whatever race is coming up next. I think that's kind of the style a lot of people play when they're out at the track.
Yeah, because that's one of the great things about horse racing is it's constant action. Like any time of any day, somewhere in the world, there's a race running.
Yep. And on big days like Saturdays and Sundays, all across the country, all across North America, different levels, different surfaces, everything you need. So you can check out all those different tracks and not have to worry about spending money, looking at a track that you may not be playing a whole heck of a lot. Check out those all-you-can-play past performances. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your phone. It'll take you right there, and you'll be able to click on them. So now the important part, Alexa, let's see if we can make the folks some money coming up this weekend. On Saturday, we move on out to Keeneland for the Lexington. Now, this is a Kentucky Derby points race. There are points offered to the top 5 finishers, but it's like a last chance points race for horses that maybe already have a good set of points earlier on. None of these horses would be able to make the Kentucky Derby if they were to win. So we won't see them in the Derby, but we could see some of these horses in the Preakness, which would be very likely. And this is the current Derby Watch odds, as our colleague David Aragona has set them. We saw Journalism run last week, Alexa, and he's got Journalism listed as the horse who would be favored right now if the Derby were run today.
I agree. I mean, that was such an impressive performance from Journalism. I think even though it was a small field, not a whole lot of contenders, it was still a really contentious race, and he just, dug in and did so good. So, David's done a really good job here of kind of setting some odds for the upcoming Derby.
Remember, you see the plus numbers in horse racing. You'll see those odds as fractions a lot of the time. So the plus 300, you'll see that as 3-1. The plus 800, you'd see that as 8-1. If you saw 9-2, that was like 4.5-1. Just remember, sometimes the odds look a little different when you're playing the races if you were playing sports betting. Now, let's talk about Keeneland this weekend. Saturday, race number 9 is the Grade 3 Lexington, and we can meet the field starting with the number 1, Hard as Life. Now, this horse is actually going to be running on the dirt surface for the first time, Alexa. He's actually run previously on the grass and on synthetic surfaces, so it's not an easy spot to try a surface for the first time when you're facing other stakes horses. What do you think about the 1, Hard as Life?
It's a really ambitious placement. I mean, so from a pedigree standpoint, I think the dirt can make sense, but his siblings haven't had wild success on dirt. His mom was a turf runner. Like you said, broke his maiden, so won his first race on the turf at Churchill last fall, but has been well beaten in his only stakes attempt so far. So I think this is a really tough spot.
The number 2, Bracket Buster, would have been a hunch play for a lot of college basketball fans just a few weeks ago with the brackets out. This is an interesting horse to me, Alexa, because if you look at the last time he raced, it was in October of 2024. He was in a race behind some really nice horses. The top 3 finishers, Sovereignty, came back and won a big race, the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream. We saw Sovereignty. He was listed as the 2nd betting choice if the Derby were to be run today. Tistastic was in that race. He came back and won the Louisiana Derby at Fairgrounds. Sandman was also in that race, and he came back. He won the Arkansas Derby. That was a loaded race Bracket Buster comes out of.
Yeah, it was. That was such a productive race. So, I mean, from that standpoint, maybe you have some upside. But for me, I'm really wary of this. So the 167-day layoff His trainer is 0 for 47 in long layoffs, an overall 2% winning trainer. So for me, I'm like, I'm probably gonna hold off
Yeah,
on this
and
one.
it's a great point too, because you look at things that each athlete has a skill set in basketball, in football, in baseball. The same can be said for jockeys or for trainers, things that they
Yeah.
do well or things that they kind of struggle with. For a
And
lot of trainers, go ahead.
necessarily
Yeah.
even mean they're a bad trainer. Some trainers like
No,
to use a race to get their horse into shape instead of getting them into shape, in workouts before. So sometimes it's just their style of training.
I think most trainers need a race or two because it's really hard to get your horses ready to run just working out in the morning without those races that build up their fitness level. It's the same thing with sports. Like you can't replicate game for practice. You just can't. The same sort of intensity and what happens
Right.
in those games. So for the conversation in this race too, Alexa, as we continue moving through the field, we're going to have a couple horses scratch out of this race because they ran earlier in the week. Bullard is not one of them. Bullard will be running, and he feels like a major player in here. He is already a graded stakes winner, but he's going to have to run a little bit farther than he's ever run before. What do you think about Bullard's chances?
So Bullard was supposed to run in the Rebel to get his shot at the Derby, but got sick.
Yep.
So that's kind of a bummer. They missed their shot at the Derby, so now they're probably pointing towards Preakness. Like you said, first time stretching out beyond 7 furlongs. 8 furlongs is a mile, by the way. So horse racing, we do different distance measurements. But so first time going a mile, and I like him a lot. I think he's fresh. I think he's shown talent. I do think the distance is like a question. Um, but I think he's a really logical contender. They did spend $675,000 on this horse as a yearling, so they had really high expectations for him.
The number 4, Rolando, raced earlier in the week, so we can kind of skip over him because he won't be running in this one. Native Runner is the next one. He showed a lot more positional speed in his most recent race. It was a nice win, and he's put back-to-back wins together. Can you make a case for him?
I can. I like him a lot. I mean, you got the morning line at 15 to 1 odds or plus 1,500. So that's a super juicy price. Coming off those 2 straight wins, he's shown constant improvement. He's in really nice form. I think, even though this is a big step up in class, just from his progression, I think he's a really nice long shot play.
Towards the outside of the field, a couple major players. First up, Gosker. He won and he broke his maiden in his second start. That was his first career win. It was really, really good. I love the way he showed improvement there, Alexa. And if he can build off of that race, I think he's right there with the top contenders. What'd you think about Gosker?
I like Oscar a lot. So if you look at the pace projector on the screen, you see that favors front runners with icicles on it. That just means the pace isn't going to be overwhelmingly fast in the race, most likely. So whoever's on the lead is going to have a bit of a pace advantage in here. And you see the 6 is most likely going to be the leader. So I think from a pace standpoint, he's got an edge.
Prater, the number 7, he's raced 3 times in his career and he's won 2 of them. And in one of those wins, he beat Sovereignty, who's going to be one of the Kentucky Derby betting favorites in here. What do you think about Prater and his chances?
Yeah, he's a very proven, classy horse. Again, going to be probably pretty forwardly placed, as you can see on that pace projector. He's reuniting with Flavian Pratt, his jockey who was aboard for his first win. So a lot of upside there, just not a lot of value.
And then to round out the field will be Hypnus, the number 8, because Touchy ran earlier in the week. So Hypnus will be the last one. Hypnus is really interesting, Alexa, because I think he has a lot of talent, but he doesn't have a lot of early speed. His
Yeah.
running style hurts him a little bit because he ends up so far back. He gets in trouble. He gets in traffic, but they made an equipment change. They're going to put the blinkers on. And what that does is it hopes to get you more focus and a lot of times more speed because the horses are only looking at what's in front of them. They're not looking around at everything else. They don't get distracted. I think that could really help Hypnus as we move to our selections here, Alexa. So tell everybody as we get set for our first break, how did you stack them up for this race?
Yeah, I have Bullard on top. I like him coming back, and Native Runner in second for a big price.
So the price for Alexa there was the 5. For me, I thought the 2, Bracket Buster, may be interesting. I'll go 6, 7, 8, get a little value on the 2. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll talk about the Jenny Wiley at Keeneland.